Hi, and welcome to Couch Theater. I'm Stefan, your host, and I'll be joined this week by Greg, guest and creative consultant. Basically, what we're trying to do with this podcast is get you to enjoy more movies. And to do that, we first prepare you for the movie without spoiling anything, without creating any negative expectations or overwhelming expectations. We just want you to enjoy the movie more. And we want you to enjoy more movies. In our second half, after you finish the film, you come back and we have a casual yet thorough discussion on the movie. Just like Friends, we enjoy the movie even more. This week, we're looking at a movie on Netflix called He Never Died. It's been on there for quite some time now.
It was super great knowing that He Never Died was still on there.
Yeah.
I'm super glad that they just keep that up.
I had no idea. I thought it would have been taken down by now.
I know.
So
it's so
I'm jazzed.
It's the perfect movie to have just laying in wait on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best thing to stumble across because you don't know what you're getting into.
You know, and I've watched it several times on my Netflix, and I don't see it pop up. So it's been on there so long that it's one of those hidden gems at this point. And I'd say probably even when it somehow came on my radar while I was just looking through Netflix. I don't know what it was that made me watch it, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of just pointless, bad movies on
Well,
Netflix.
you're great at just seeing a movie's picture and reading the description going, sure, I'll watch that. Because you'll watch anything.
This is true.
Yeah.
I will watch just about anything.
Well, I remember when you first told me about He Never Died, you were just like so excited. I'm like, dude, you've got to watch this movie and you got to go in knowing nothing. Because I'm always asking you for spoilers.
Yeah.
But you're like, no, you got to go in knowing nothing. I'm like, all right, I'll go in blank on this.
And I mean, that's definitely a motto of this podcast, but particularly in this movie, totally necessary. You have to go into this completely blind.
Absolutely.
Knowing next to nothing.
It was such a pleasure trying to figure this movie out as it's just shoving mystery in your face. Like, hey, isn't this weird?
Yeah.
Like the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, let's not talk about the movie quite yet.
Yeah.
Other than it's about a guy. And your questions are, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And where is he from? And what are his motivations?
Where is he going and why is he going there?
Yeah, exactly. And why is he so weird, man?
Yeah. He does not act like a normal person.
No. And I think that's a good thing to point out. While you're watching the film, you should observe how this guy interacts with other people and how they react to his obvious social or lack of social cues. And
yeah, this movie really puts a microscope on how strangers interact or even people interact in normal settings because he's not that kind of guy.
So, okay, just a quick overview of what you should be expecting genre-wise.
Oh, yeah,
It's a very slow burn, slow-moving movie, but it's also a dark, dry comedy.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you're going to be getting a lot of adrenaline in this movie, but
there are bursts. Bursts of intense action.
Oh, yeah, of shocking action.
Just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. Can get gory sometimes even. Yeah.
Which is, I think, part of the importance of the surprise.
Totally. Yeah. There's a reason for it, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think another thing to point out, which I think is just really interesting, is how low budget this movie is.
Yeah. They do so much with so little. There's, only a few set pieces really, they're all very generic, but the story is so rich that you don't notice it's taking place in such a small area.
And I mean, there aren't a whole lot of characters, but the guy who plays the main dude, man, he is a good actor.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he does fantastically in this part.
Henry Rollins is a fascinating human being. I don't know if you know much about him. But...
Didn't you say he's a philosopher?
Well, he's a punk singer. That's where he kind of got his start, and he just kind of has his hands in everything. I know he's been involved in radio, and he's acted before, but he's just a guy who does what he wants to do.
Sounds like the best life.
I've got a lot of respect for Henry Rollins. I don't agree with him on everything, but oh man, he's such a fascinating person.
All right. Well, is there anything else? One more thing. One more thing to look out for. I think is important is desensitization.
Oh yeah.
And I think we live in a time where we are desensitized to a lot of things, but we're aware of that. I mean, we know we're desensitized, but we just we don't care. And there's a lot of desensitization in this movie. I think you should ask yourself, how far can that go? How far can one be desensitized? And are there some things that one can't be desensitized to?
Yeah.
And with that, I think we should let you watch the movie now. Go ahead and pause, and then go to Netflix and watch He Never Died, and then come on back after and join us for some conversation. So let's talk.
I love this movie.
Yeah.
I am
me
a
too.
huge fan. It really jumps at you at first with this ethereal war noise and violence in the background, like a battle with horses going on in the background.
And you're like, is this... I mean, I think pretty quickly you catch on that this is going inside his mind. This is all in his head.
Because it just pops up and there's a image of a regular old boring apartment.
Yeah.
And there's this intense noise.
And this, I mean, seemingly boring guy in the very beginning.
Well, the war noises are broken up by just some old lady like, hey, do you have my rent? And it's just like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this to go there. I was expecting something more intense.
Yeah.
And it's this break of expectation,
And then we're immediately introduced to Kane, who is clearly very socially inept. He doesn't even know what day it is.
Yeah.
What day of the week, let alone, the
date
actual
itself.
date itself.
Yeah. He's someone who clearly doesn't care.
And as we learn who his character is and how old he is. He's several thousand years old. He has no idea exactly how old he is because he's lived that long. He's just become bored with everything.
There's nothing interesting anymore.
And
he's done it all.
What we learn throughout the movie is, he's been exposed to incredible violence and exacted incredible violence on just about anybody within arm's reach.
Oh, yeah, there's a line where he says, I've killed 9-year-olds for no reason at all. What chance do you think you have?
Yeah, exactly.
If that doesn't communicate how bad this guy is...
And I think that's a good launching point. We're supposed to imagine this guy as an anti-hero.
Yeah.
He's neither a good guy or a bad guy.
You kind of feel like you're rooting for him the whole time.
Right.
But why?
Exactly.
He's awful.
I would argue that he's not a good guy. He's not an anti-hero. He's just a bad guy. And the only motivations he has where he does some sort of glimmer of good is completely motivated by his dark side. His own
desire to kill and feed.
Right. But that's also something interesting. He doesn't even get pleasure in killing anymore, which he clearly did throughout the centuries where he was participating in all sorts of wars and impaling people in Wallachia. I'm not sure where that is.
Yeah. I believe it's...
Is that like
I wanted to say it's like some
Dracula
reference.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah.
So just to run down the list of good things he does, seemingly good things he does, we'll just go from the beginning. The nurse, he ends up saving that guy in the beginning with the line, I need that guy you're killing. And that's the easiest to brush off. He needs the nurse for purely feeding purposes.
Yeah.
He needs that guy to get him human
blood.
It's just blood, huh?
Yeah. Because there's that scene where he spills it and licks it up off the floor.
Oh, God. Yeah, he has to sponge it up off the floor and then he
rings it into a cup. Oh, man.
Then just drinks it. So that's pretty easy. He doesn't give a shit about the nurse. And then there's the waitress, which is this potential romantic interest.
Well, the waitress wants to be with him for sure, and she tries so hard.
And he's just not interested. It's very sad.
Yeah.
For her. And he saves her twice. I mean, I guess he doesn't really save her from the ex-boyfriend, but he steps in.
Yeah.
But when does he step in? As soon as the owner of the diner says...
He's about to call the cops.
Yeah, he's going to call the cops.
Like, no, I don't want to be around cops.
I don't want cops.
I'll take care of this.
Which we learned he's gone to jail. A lot of jail. Done a lot of jail.
A lot of prison in in my life.
Which he talks about like it's a profession.
Yeah.
He's done so much jail, it's like a job at some point.
I imagine he's pretty good at going to prison.
Yeah. Probably is just left alone for the most part. But I kind of imagine, go down the rabbit hole. At this point in a modern day society where everybody has a number and a record, going to jail would probably be pretty problematic.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too when I was just watching it earlier today. I said, I was thinking about it like once you're in the system, now you're being watched. Right. And what happens when they say, oh, this guy's not dying?
The experiments begin, and all of a sudden he's locked in a warehouse and he can't get out because
for how long?
He's been captured.
He's immortal. So as long as they
forever, yeah.
So yeah, there's a real risk to getting caught by the cops,
right? I mean, he never shows much fear, but I think that's definitely something that is prevalent in his mind. The way he acts.
Yeah. It's more like, well, that would be annoying.
Which goes to the second part of the argument for good guy, which would be, well, he's only killing bad guys, right? And that makes him a good guy because he has these urges, but at least he's only killing killers, right? But then even that's not true because he kills that rude neighbor who's just kind of an asshole.
Yeah, so kill him.
But to move on beyond that, I mean, he kills bad guys. But why do you kill bad guys as opposed to good people when you need to fill a hunger?
Because who gives a if you kill a bad guy?
Right. And I mean, it throws people off. I mean, if you kill a gangster or, hired muscle, the police are just going to write it off as gang related or drug related or what have you.
Yeah.
Kill a good person, and now we have a mystery.
Professional criminal gets killed. What's new?
So less heat. I think it has nothing to do with feeling sorry.
A moral code or anything like that.
Code. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. The only time I wonder if there is some kind of moral code going on is when he's like trying to find someone to kill, when he's dropping the money on the corner for that guy and he gives it back. He seems frustrated. Or like he bumps into the gang looking guys on the street and they go, oh, sorry about that. He's like frustrated. Then he finally gets to, when he vomits on the skateboarders, he gets to murder one. Or all of them. They don't really show.
You're 14.
Yeah,
how old are you?
Or like when he says to Tim, the ex-boyfriend, you look 35. And at first you think like, well, that's a weird thing to say. But then he says it again later. It's like, you look 14. It's like, wait, is that a thing that you do? You just like guess people's age? It's so weird.
I think, so it's a couple things. Yeah, it may be just a hobby of sorts.
Yeah.
But also kind of a demeaning thing. Like he sees people as annoying blood sacks.
Yeah.
Sheep just walking around him, and every once in a while, one of them annoys him enough to the point where he just kills it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it definitely was like an instigation with the skateboard kids when he said, you look 14. They're like, F you, man.
Yeah, well, and then one of them has a gun, and then he has the excuse.
Yeah, so like he's definitely like poking there. He wants to feed, that's for sure.
So, I mean, I guess you could say that shows a little bit of morals. But not much.
Yeah.
The only other point, which I could say shows some morality, is with his daughter. There's a point where he's really hitting that critical moment. The mobsters are really starting to annoy him, that he, quote, falls off the wagon.
This is right after he ripped that dude's throat out.
Right, yeah. And he tells her, get the f*** out. He verbally abuses her.
Yeah.
You unwanted abortion.
Yeah, you unaborted brat.
Yeah. Because
definitely one of the meaner things you can say to your own child.
Yeah. Because he has a desire to eat her.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
And the only dark place I can go with that is he just doesn't want the attention of his ex, who
knows
he
where
remembers hating.
Their daughter is. And, if she went missing, cops would come asking.
What's her name? She's like,
Jillian.
He's like, oh, Jillian. I remember hating you.
Yeah.
And I think as the movie goes on, I mean, it feels weird talking about Cain and how he views people, but I feel like as you would start to associate with Cain, you start to see people as he does, which is just annoying blood sacks who say really stupid things and
are just wasting his time and their time because nothing really matters.
Yeah, there's some really great lines, though.
Oh, yeah.
How long have I been asleep?
I don't know how I would know that. Yeah. It's not just, I don't know that. I don't know how I would know that. He's trying to tell that person something. It's like, what a stupid thing for you to say.
And he's just drifting through life trying to
pass time.
Yeah, with these really just annoying people.
Yeah. There's that scene, it's the first night his daughter stays over and he didn't get a wink of sleep all night. And he's looking at the clock and he just throws it because he just wants to pass the time and it's there just taunting him.
Yeah.
What
do you want to do today? I'm doing it. I'm still doing it. Just want to sleep.
So he definitely, as soon as he starts really spending time with his daughter, he starts to get that hunger as well. Mm-hmm. There's that scene when they're first at the diner together and he's just staring at her back.
Yeah.
And he starts to hear the noise and it's like he's getting tempted to eat her.
I thought that was interesting. I mean, is it just because he was around another person for a long enough amount of time?
Well, this is something that you've brought up to me before, is the fact that they're related, and he's Cain. He's the first one to kill, and he killed his own brother. He killed his kin, killed his family.
Ah, okay.
And she's family, so
There's
he's
the
compelled
connection.
To kill family.
Yeah.
So he's next to his daughter and like, all right, I want to eat you.
The old desire, the old urge.
Temptation is there.
And I think at a certain point we should go back and look up the story of Cain and Abel because I don't really remember it.
I'm very familiar.
Oh, well, enlighten us. I'm interested.
Yeah, so Cain and Abel were sons of Adam and Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know that much. Yeah.
Abel was very popular. Cain was not.
Oh.
Yeah. Cain was bitter and resentful towards his more successful brother. But his more successful brother always sacrificed had the greater sacrifice. He sacrificed his best sheep to God, whereas Cain would make small sacrifices. And so it's a story of resentment, and other people's success isn't a claim against you. You need to look at your own self and what you need to give.
Right.
But if you look at other people and live in jealousy, resentment will build. And if you're blaming other people for your own problems because you didn't do what you need to do, bad things will happen.
It's a sin, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Coveting, it's one of the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's stuff.
Yeah.
That's verbatim, by the way. The 6th commandment: don't covet your neighbor's.
Yeah.
Surprised the Bible curses.
Who knew?
Apparently me.
No, apparently so.
Yeah, so Cain and Abel, it's just that story of growing resentment.
And then Cain kills Abel.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even finish the story. Cain kills Abel because Abel's success.
Now, does he eat him immediately, or does God punish him with that cannibalism desire?
I don't recall that part of cannibalism. I don't know if that's in the Bible or not. Okay. But Cain is cursed for life and cast out from their home, and he goes off and starts his own people. And
then they get wiped away by a flood at some point.
Ostensibly. Well, everybody got wiped out except Noah's family.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's tough times for the human race.
Yeah. So I really want to get your thoughts on this mysterious silent character that says hi at the end.
Right.
Who is he?
So, I mean, I think there are a couple things you could go with. He's either an angel, or I think more likely he's God. And it's the way that Cain interacts with him. At the very end, he finally acknowledges him and talks to him and tries to hit him and
hurts himself.
Yeah, for the first time you see
him
an
actually
opponent that he can't.
Well, you see him really wince to pain.
Yeah,
normally he doesn't care.
Yeah, not at all. He talks about how he's murdered people, all of these people, and why should this person, this nameless godlike person, care about Alex, this nemesis he's had throughout the movie.
Well, he as well, he specifically blames this silent God character that we're calling. He blames him for his curse. So it's like, if he's blaming this person for the curse, that means this person has that power over him, and that would be God.
Why won't you let me die? Just let me die. And so I think that pretty clearly shows that he is God.
Yeah. And it's a pretty, like, if that is God, that's a very dark take on God.
Yeah.
It's definitely an Old Testament kind of sadistic God.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I mean, what a punishment. Yeah, you're free. You can live in the world, take of all of its delights until you don't care about anything anymore, to the point where you die, but you're alive. You're undead. I mean, that is a punishment.
Yeah.
To the point where you will never enjoy anything ever again. And yet, there is kind of a light at the end, right? I mean, it seems like there's a divine plan where he might actually have a family-like life at the end of this movie. You know, they don't really tell us or say anything, but he goes off with this waitress who there's some sort of romantic interest there, and his daughter. Her mom is dead, but she doesn't know that.
Yeah.
But suddenly there's a family unit.
Well, I imagine, you know, he would just stop caring at a certain point.
Probably, yeah. Going with his character, he would get bored pretty fast, and the waitress would want things from him, and he'd be like, I just want to sleep today. You've been saying that for months now.
Back on this idea of Cain's punishment being just living, it makes me think of Sartre's No Exit. It's this play where there are three people stuck in a room together, and they're trying to figure out, and they know they're in hell, and they're trying to figure out, like, so this is hell? Like, what did we do? And they're all talking to each other, and they all just end up hating each other, and the kind of final conclusion and the real thing that people take away from No Exit often is hell is other people. And that is on display here perfectly. It's the juxtaposition of eternal life is something that we all dream of, and that's what heaven is, but eternal life here on earth, well, now that sounds like hell. Because
perfect.
Here with other people.
Yeah. Perfect analogy to this.
Yeah.
This is a movie of questions. And I think one of the important things in film that is underrated is basically filling stuff in, having the viewer fill stuff in themselves to make the story personable to them, and not spending time answering all of the questions, leaving it a mystery and leaving that fantasy element. So, you know, we have, at the very end, we have a lot of just, here are a bunch of answers to questions, but they're not really answers. Like, I'm Cain, I'm really old. And she's like, well, how does it work? And he's like, I don't know.
Don't ask.
You know?
Yeah. When she's trying to ask details, he's like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. How are you immortal? Like, how have you lived so long? He's like, I don't know. I just pulled a bullet out of my head.
So I don't get migraines.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I got pliers in my head. It hurts.
Because he's even desensitized to pain itself.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I just have to deal with this right now. Okay.
So in the beginning, you're trying to find out who this guy is. And then you do find out who he is. But that leads to all of these other questions. Like, where has he been all this time? Like, so how was the Civil War? I don't know. I was in China.
Yeah.
You know?
What were you doing in China in the 1860s?
But that's another mystery, you know?
Yeah.
Fill it in for yourself.
Exactly.
And then at the very end, they all stagger off. God lets him go. And he staggers off to the waitress, with the waitress and his daughter to a hospital. And where do they go after that? Who knows? You know, fill it in for yourself. Maybe they become a familial unit. Or maybe he leaves them at the hospital and just disappears into the night to go live his tortured life somewhere else. And then what is God doing with Alex? He acknowledges him.
Yeah.
And he clearly is going to have some sort of interaction with him. Is he about to punish him?
Well, Jack says at first, he goes, you'll see who I was talking to someday.
Yeah.
And he leaves. And then right after that, God goes down and says, hi.
Hi. And then he does this weird eye thing.
Yeah.
Opens his eyes really wide.
Yeah. Well, it's like a demonic hi, too, which is like another weird, like, if this is God, it's such a interesting characterization of what God is.
Yeah, and I mean, there's all of these things in random television shows. The first thing that I think of is that Jay and Silent Bob movie, Dogma. Yeah, where if you hear God's voice, your head explodes, basically. Like, you're not supposed to hear God's voice if you're mortal.
Yeah.
So God's voice sounds kind of weird.
Yeah. Sinister.
And does that mean Alex is dead?
Who knows? Another great, like, open-ended question. It's like, whoa, what's
about to happen?
What's about to happen? Yeah.
And then the movie just ends.
Yep.
So
you do get a conclusion to the immediate story of why are these gangsters getting involved? It's like, oh, well, just some random.
And then the curtain drops.
Yeah. There's your answer, but it's not much of an answer, really.
You're left with all these questions that you fill in. You, as the viewer, fill in yourself, and that makes the story yours.
Yeah,
it's
I thought about this movie. I thought about this movie so much after the first time I saw it. Just like all the implications, and I even read they were like talking about doing a TV series about this. It's like this would be a perfect premise for that. But
I know.
I hear they're doing a sequel. She Never Died.
What?
I don't know.
When did you hear that?
Just today. I just Googled He Never Died because I wanted to check in on the TV series if that was actually going to happen. And I saw something like it was announced 2 weeks ago or something. She Never Died.
So it's like his daughter.
I don't know. Well, he's had family before and they weren't immortal.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, those Bible characters end up living.
And let's hope it's not his daughter because she is awful. She is so annoying.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like to talk about the bad parts of movies usually, but if there's some way you can just black out the daughter and her acting in your mind, put it in a dark box next to all of your bad family memories and that time that kid beat the shit out of you in elementary school and dunked your head in the toilet. Put it in a box and just put it next to that in a dark place in the recesses of your mind.
I was so happy when he kicked her out, and then it was just said that she was kidnapped. I'm like, oh, good. So we don't have to see her for a while.
Well, and she's beaten to the point where she just can't talk. Yeah. And you can't actually see facial expressions.
Yeah, luckily she's in not too much of the movie. So
Yeah.
Anything else you want to pick apart about?
Well, this is something we probably should have talked about earlier, but I think, and I didn't want to give anything away in the first section, but some of the religious drops, and the biggest one is in the beginning. You see him coming out of a church.
Oh yeah, you see him go in and go out, and you're like, "What's he going to a church for?"
And that's your first hint, oh, maybe he's something biblical, like maybe an angel or something. I mean, you see these cuts on his back, and my initial thought was because I saw the the title shot, which is him screaming, and he has wings. That's another peg. Is he a fallen angel? He had wings at one point.
Yeah, I had the same thought the first time I watched it.
And then later, you see when he goes into the church with his daughter that he just goes there for bingo.
It was just for bingo.
And he goes there because they're really old people, so they're not very appetizing.
Yeah, it's like all of these grand questions always kind of come down to it's just that. There's nothing more to it. Yeah. You're asking yourself, why is this guy going to church? This is one of the first scenes they show you in the movie. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's just bingo.
It's just bingo. Nothing to do with church at all.
Yeah.
Although he is Cain, or Kian, how does he pronounce it?
I remember he calls Abel Hakbel.
Hakbel, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Couch Theater. My guest and our creative consultant is Greg Dernbach. Artwork by Robot, who you can follow on Instagram at 20th Century Robot. All episodes are written and produced by me, Stefan Cowper, along with a few questionable bass lines. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to us on YouTube, or you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all under Couch Theater. We hope that you enjoyed this week's episode and that you come back next week for another movie and another conversation.